Hey guys. Okay, so in last week's video we talked about contours. Now when I was editing the captions back for that video afterwards, I found myself constantly sitting there just going, dope, I forgot to talk about that, and oh, I missed that point, that is so annoying. So I thought this week, let's do a part 2 to last week's contour video and give me an opportunity to kind of fill in the blanks or cover off the stuff that I forgot to talk about the first time around. Now to make sure I don't miss anything this time around, I have actually written myself a little cheat sheet of notes because I don't like that frustrated, oh, I should have said that type feeling at the end. So the first thing I want to talk about is, in that previous video, I mentioned that council works off an AHD system, Australian Height Datum, where the starting point is 0 and 0 point is sea level. So when you see a number on a property, it represents the height above sea level. So if you see a 25 metre contour, it means that point on the property is 25 metres above sea level. Side comment, and I'll try not to go down a rabbit hole here, but the other day I was actually sitting there going, hold on a sec, sea level varies all the time. How do you actually work out what the sea level is and what's the starting point if it's constantly going up and down? Thanks to Google, I now know that basically, I think it was in the 1960s, 66 to 68 or something like that, they measured the mean or average height across, I think it was like 30 different reference points in Australia. I don't know, jump on Google, check it out. But basically they came up with this average point and went, yep, that's our 0 point, and then we're going to work off that. So yeah, council system works off AHD. So you might be sitting there going, okay, well, what's the alternative? Like, it's surely not just one size fits all type thing. The alternative is RLs, or reduced levels. Now RLs are kind of like a choose your own adventure type system. So you can pick whatever number you want for your starting point on your property. You could pick 0 and say, okay, the lowest point on this property is 0, and then we work up from there. Or you can pick whatever your favorite number is. Let's say your favorite number is 25. Okay, 25 is where we start, and then we work up from there. Now, council, as you can naturally imagine, prefers the AHD system because then it allows them to compare apples to apples. So if you have two properties side by side and they're both working off two different numbering systems, how do you work out who sits where in terms of height? Whereas if everyone's working off the exact same starting point and this one has a ridge of, let's say, 25 and this one has a ridge of 26, you can clearly see this one here is going to be 1 metre above this one here. So it makes it easier for council to compare properties and work that's occurring on each property. Now, next thing, let's talk about the numbering system. So you might hear people sit there and say, okay, it's got a grade of 1 in 4, or it's got a grade of 25%. What does that actually mean? Well, basically, if you're saying 1 in blah, it means you have a rise of 1 metre across blah horizontal distance. So 1 in 4 means you go up 1 metre for every 4 metres of horizontal distance. So let's say you've got a standard sort of small lot property, 400 square metres, the block's 10 by 40, then across, let's say, for example, you're going 1 in 4, it means you're going to be rising 10 metres from the lowest point to the highest point on the property across that 40 metre depth. That's how you get the 1 in 4. The other way of saying it is 25%. So you basically get 100, divide it by 4, whatever that second number is, and that gives you your percentage. So if you had a grade of 1 in 5, it would be 20%. If you had a grade of 1 in 2, it would be 50%, which is crazy numbers. So yeah, you will hear people talk about the grades in those sort of terms, and that just represents how steep it is, essentially. Last thing I want to talk about, accuracy. So when you look at Brisbane City Council's contours in interactive mapping, they are based on 2002 data. Now that's 20-year-old data. Council intentionally wants it to be old data because they use that as a basis for ground level, in super simple terms. So the natural or original ground level that everyone's working off. So things can change in 20 years. Things will change in 20 years. People build up blocks to be able to get flat yards, or they put garden beds in, they do all this sort of stuff. So yeah, the 2002 contours are not going to be an accurate representation of what's on the property right now today. You do need a surveyor to come out and actually work out what those levels are. Also, you need to keep in mind, and I'm not 100% sure how they do this, but you need to keep in mind that they're not going around property to property measuring every level on every property. From what I understand, and I haven't fact-checked this, but from what I understand, the plane flies over and it uses a LiDAR system. So they basically shoot down millions and millions of laser beams, and they basically record how long it takes for that laser beam to bounce back to the plane, and that then determines how much distance is between the plane and the actual ground level. Which, when I think about it, like, imagine you'd have to fly that plane at a consistent level the entire time to be able to get those half-metre intervals. That takes skill. I've only just considered that right now. So yeah, basically, point is, you got a plane, it's bouncing this data off, this survey data. I have heard that they potentially cross-check it against aerial, 360-degree aerial images or something like that. But point is, it's very high level, pun not intended, high level, generic measuring system, or it is a very generic sort of measuring system. It's not going to get you super accurate data. Again, if you want the accurate data, you've got to get a surveyor to come out and they've got to plot the specific levels for your property. So use it as a starting point, let's just say. And I always recommend that people engage a surveyor before they get stuck into the detailed design process, because I've seen so many situations over the years where the 2002 contours have kind of caught people out and caused a lot of problems, a lot of issues. So yeah, use it as a starting point, not as a final point. And I think that covers off my entire list. That's everything I want to talk about. Until next time, thanks for watching.
For all you red tape lovers out there, I have one thing to say. Well, no, actually, I've got three. Number one, the advice provided in these videos is general in nature. It's not site specific. You would be a silly Billy to go and make financial decisions based on this advice without first checking with the town planner. Don't be a silly Billy. Number two, Brisbane town planning is in no way linked to Brisbane City Council. The views expressed in these videos are my own, not council's. So if you don't like them, blame me, not council. Number three, what was my number three? Oh yeah, the views expressed in these videos are accurate at the time of recording. If you're watching this video back 10 years from now, the views may not be so accurate. That's all.